Yeah, so, and we're back, part 2 now, because Clint Dempsey tried to crash my show. Now all of a sudden he's a dick to me. Sorry, Clint, you're dead to me. No, I'm just kidding. Love you, mean it. Yeah, I mean, Landon Donovan comes off like... We're just going to pick up like we never even left. I don't even care. Landon Donovan comes off like a bit of a... I don't know. I heard him described, and I thought this was pretty apt. Like the kid that you went to high school with that wore the seashell necklace and listened to 311 and smoked pot at lunch. You know, but he was like a really good soccer player, though. You know, he just comes off like, I don't know, a little bit douchey. And a little bit full of himself at this point. But, I mean, in big moments, he comes up huge. You know, so how do you argue with that? But Clint Dempsey just comes off like he's really cool.
Oh, yeah. Everything I've seen about him and stuff, like, they really played him up, you know, last World Cup. Because I think the Ghana game was, like, on the anniversary of, like, when his sister died or something like that.
Yes.
And so they really did, like, a lot of his, you know, his growing up and his backstory and everything. And he seems like an honest, legit, good dude. And, you know, that's cool. I don't hate on him.
Although he does he's sort of like one of these people that, when he talks, you don't expect that voice to come out. Like, I used to know this girl, she was Asian, but she was from Arkansas. So she'd be like, oh, hey, y'all. And it's like, whoa! Like, I was not expecting that voice to come from that person. You know, like, when Clint Dempsey speaks, he's like, yeah, man, so, I mean, growing up in Texas, we were just trying to play soccer, and I'm trying to be, like, the best player I possibly could. And, you know, I got this little rap career going on. Then while I was over in Fulham, after I went to Furman, and then, you know, went to New England Revolution and all that. I mean... I just put the biscuit in the basket, you know what I mean, Hoss? But he seems like a legit, very, you know, sort of straight up kind of guy, which is cool. You know, I mean, and let's be honest, he's the best player on the team at this point. It's not Landon. Landon's been off the boil for quite some time. But, you know, if it's 80-something minutes on and we need a goal, you know, to either get a point or to win the game, and I look at my bench, and I either have Brad Davis, who is a left-sided midfielder for the Houston Dynamo, in case you're not familiar with him, which I'm assuming everybody is not familiar with him. Or you have Landon Donovan. I'm going with Landon Donovan.
I won't lie. I'm you know, sort of proud to this extent, and I'm not going to hide from it. But when he scored that goal in the last group stage game in the last World Cup, I was fucking crying like a fucking girl. I won't lie. That was...
You're such a bitch.
I was out, you know, we were watching that at actually like the Hun Club in Kearney, and maybe about 75 people there, you know, on a big projector TV, and that was, you know, looking at all of the moments of, you know, my soccer supporting career and life, and that ranks up there in top 5, definitely, maybe top 3 of just the best moments.
Here,
because
let's play that back.
Yeah.
But he claims it. Distribution, brilliant. Landon Donovan, there are things on here for the USA. Can they do it here? Cross, and Dempsey is denied again, and Donovan has scored! Oh, can you believe this? Go, USA! Certainly through! Oh, it's incredible! You could not write a script like this!
Fucking Vuvuzelas. Thank God we're not going to have that shit this time. Good Lord.
There's the one video, I don't know if it's just a fan-made thing, but just, like, reactions of all across the U.S. and across the world. Like, they even showed, like, Paris and, you know, U.S. supporters in London of when he scored, and just seeing everybody just go fucking insane.
Yeah, across the world, you know. And I can't play that really on the show because, like, it's just, like, dramatic.
Just crowd noise,
Yeah, it's just dramatic music over, you know, sort of the video, but I'll tweet it out. I mean, it's one of the most amazing pieces of, you know, sort of social media, YouTube, whatever that's been put out there. I mean, it was absolutely incredible to watch, and, you know, and that will make you cry like a little bitch.
Oh yeah.
But you know, I don't want to say that I'm going to be happy if they don't do well, but I don't know. And I'm tweeting out this video that Rev's referring to. It is amazing. I mean, even if you hate America, you kind of, I don't know. It is, I don't know, maybe you'd hate it. But this for the people who hate America, this video isn't for you. But, it is powerful and emotional and all that. I'm not going to say that I'll be happy if they do poorly, but I don't know. I mean, it sort of does vindicate. I guess it doesn't even vindicate. I mean, it's just Klinsmann's a dick. He just is. I mean, Klinsmann, he was the manager of the German team, right? In 2006, they made it to the semifinals, and he didn't do jack shit in that side. That was Yogi Löw. Yogi Löw. He's got the best name of any manager ever. Yogi Löw. He needs some background music. Anytime you say Yogi Löw, you gotta have Barry White or something playing in the background.
It's like some porn grooves type shit.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, Yogi Löw. Manager for the German team, Yogi Löw. He's the manager for the Mannschaft. I don't know about that, Jurgen. Yogi's calling the shots. That's right. Schwanzenstuckers.
It doesn't seem to me like it's enough.
It's never enough schnitzel for me, baby.
It's just not enough. It's just not enough.
Yogi Löw. Putting out a 4-2-3-1 on that ass. Schweinsteiger switches to the left. Anyway. Yogi Löw was the one that carried that team. And then Jurgen goes to Bayern Munich on his own, and he gets found out. So then he calls in Landon Donovan on loan, because he rates him, because he's Mr. America now, that he married an American girl, and he can speak, American English. And Landon comes in, is a flop. In his mind, he blames Donovan for costing him his job. Now he takes the American position, and he's always shit on Landon Donovan since he took the job. I mean, he call him out in the media, and Landon Donovan's not the type of player that you do that to. There are players that you can challenge publicly, directly, out in the media, and they're going to respond. And there's others that don't. He shit on Landon Donovan, which was the completely opposite thing that he should have done to get the best out of him. He did the same to Clint Dempsey, and Clint Dempsey responded. But he was never taking Landon Donovan to this World Cup. And the thing that's fucked up the most about it is that Landon Donovan came back after his sabbatical to Cambodia, or whatever the hell he was doing. And Klinsmann said, all right, these are all the things that you need to start doing. And he did them. He came back, he played in the Gold Cup, which most of the first-team U.S. players don't do. The Gold Cup in odd years is typically for the kids to play in. Landon Donovan comes in, plays in the Gold Cup with the kids, gets the most outstanding player, wins the Gold Cup for America, comes through, does everything he was supposed to do, and Klinsmann still shits on him in the end. That's not what you do. That's just bad form, in my opinion. So, and now it's just the sideshow, the whole time. It'd be the flip side to the argument that I made earlier on part 1 of the Beyond the Waves Celtic Football Show was that if you don't think he's going to have a big presence, and that's going to be a distraction later, get it out of the way now. Well, the flip side to that is people are going to be asking him the question anyway from the whole time. It's just hanging over the entire thing. It'd be one thing if he keeps him on the 23-man squad, which he is better than a lot of the play. He's better than Alejandro Bedoya. Let's not kid ourselves here, please. Alejandro Bedoya is going to the World Cup instead of Landon fucking Donovan. Just let that sink in. But it'd be one thing if he takes Landon Donovan, they play in some of these preparation games against whoever the hell it is, Mozambique or Kazakhstan, or they got something against Azerbaijan. is the next game that they're playing against. So Landon Donovan plays against Azerbaijan, right? Has a shitty game. Then he plays against Turkey, has a shitty game there. At least you can then say, all right, you know what? He's not feeling it. He's not up for it. Quality isn't there. That's fine. But you still have him on the plane. You still have his expertise, his experience, his counsel to help you with. This was a personal choice. A fuck you from Klinsmann to Landon Donovan. And I don't know if you saw this, but Klinsmann's son, who is in the United States men's national team setup, he's 17 years old, and he's in the youth side, Jonathan Klinsmann, tweeted out right after the team was released, the roster was released, ha 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 Donovan, ha ha. Wow. I didn't even realize this until my phone alerted me. Then he tried to walk it back and say, oh, I didn't know that it was a joke. I didn't know that was going out. And then he kept tweeting, and nobody can take a joke. You know, it's one of those, like, when you screw up on Twitter and then you try and, like, play it off like, oh, that was just a joke. It's like, no, dude. No. Sorry. Nobody's believing that. So, I mean, that further sort of confounded that. I mean, if Klinsmann's kid is responding that way.
Right. You know there was some deep-seated shit there.
Exactly. You know, and, I mean, I didn't like the Klinsmann selection on the front end. I mean, the Klinsmann selection to me was very similar to this Owen Coyle situation, you know, where the guy's out of work for an extended period of time. Klinsmann was out of work for 2 years before he took the U.S. job. Nobody would get anywhere near him. Nobody in Europe, nobody anywhere. He was a technical, like a technical consultant to Toronto FC and MLS. That's how far he had fallen. And they were the worst team ever at that point. So Toronto FC is only willing to point him like a technical consultant. No European side wants to get anywhere near him, and he's going to walk in and become the U.S. manager with all sorts of plaudits? No, I mean, you know, we're a huge country, and you know we're making huge strides in becoming more sophisticated with football, soccer football, association football, whatever the hell you want to call it. But this was an appointment that capitalized on the ignorance of the sort of newer or less sophisticated soccer, football, soccer, football, association football fan who hear Jurgen Klinsmann and think, oh, World Cup winner 1990, great striker, played for, you know, Inter, Tottenham, whatever. And they don't look at the fact that it was Yogi Love the whole time that was the brains behind the operation. No, can't get any love. You know why? Because there's no more Yogi Love. Yogi Love is the manager of Germany now. Now, you look at the U.S. national team and the group that they're in. They're playing against... Who are they playing against, Rev?
I know Ghana is one of them.
Ghana, Portugal, and Germany, who is managed by... Yogi Love! Germany is going to wipe the mother effing floor with America. I'm sorry. Now, I saw the U.S. team play against Germany at RFK in Washington, D.C. I've never seen RFK sold out before. That was amazing. I mean, the entire stadium was full. And
How was it still standing?
That's a good question. I thought for sure that at some point during the course of the day there would be a structural failure, but it did hold up. And to be fair, there was probably 40% of the crowd were Schwanzenstokers. But I've never seen that many people at a soccer game in America, let alone a national team. There were 60,000 people there to watch the U.S. versus Germany, and the U.S. beat Germany. Again, and I saw him right there in front of my eyes. My eyes do not deceive me. Who was it, Rev?
Was it Landon Donovan?
Yogi Love! He's a creepy looking dude, to be honest with you. He looks like like the bad guy in a Die Hard movie. You know, without the beard, but he's got like the shitty hair. You know who he looks like? I got it. Remember the bad guy from Kindergarten Cop? The guy that was like the kid's dad, and it was like the really hot mom, but the kid, you never saw Kindergarten Cop, did you?
I did. No, I did. I'm trying to picture. I vaguely remember. Probably was in kindergarten when I saw that.
Yogi Loves was in Kindergarten Cop. And his wife was hot, but apparently she didn't want to have anything to do with him, and Arnold Schwarzenegger had to step in and beat that ass. It's not enough Barry to smooth over that deal, let me tell you. You get Arnold Schwarzenegger, ferret into kindergarten class.
And baby, that's no lie.
Yogi Loves going down.
Tell me, what can I say? What am I?
Love me some Yogi Love. But yeah, so we're gonna get wiped by Germany. So, America beat Germany 4-3 in RFK. I don't think Landon Donovan was there that day because this was last June, I think.
Okay.
And I believe it was right before the Gold Cup, and Landon Donovan was with the Gold Cup team. And this was like a friendly that was like the first team side. So Josie was playing, Graham Zusi was out wide right. You had Fabian Johnson on the left. This was when Jurgen started really going in with the 4-2-3-1, which I'm guessing he's going to go with the American side in the World Cup coming up. Yeah, Josie up top. He just started in with Clint just behind Josie in that central channel, the Chris Commons role.
Right.
Gave Clint the armband. Zusi's on the right. He had Fabian Johnson on the left, who I think Klinsmann thinks he's good enough to be left back. We're going to get torn to shreds if he's going to be left back. I mean, people talk about, he's got pace. The only pace that we're going to see from either Fabian Johnson or Timmy Chandler are going to be when they're chasing people. That's it. That's it. I mean, they have absolutely no defensive presence, no positional discipline. You need somebody with a bit of physicality, somebody with the lungs of a fucking rhinoceros that can bomb up and down that flank, and somebody who's going to have to keep up with Cristiano Ronaldo. I thought Brad Evans was perfect for that. I thought that was going to be Brad Evans' coming out party, and he dropped him. Brad Evans played in that game. I think it was Beasler and Omar. It was definitely Beasler and Omar Gonzalez playing center half, and then DeMarcus Beasley at left back, which, for the life of me, I have no idea how that possibly could have gotten pulled off, but it has. DeMarcus Beasley has been excellent at left back. I know, yes, former Hun, whatever.
I mean, not even that. He's, 47 years old?
He is. But somehow it works. Somehow DeMarcus Beasley can play left back at, the tender age of 48. Now you got Michael Bradley, who in my opinion is the best player on this side right now and will continue to be. I'm a huge mark for Michael Bradley. He's fantastic. I'm disappointed that he came back to MLS, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me too.
I'm disappointed that he didn't go to Celtic, but that's a whole other issue. We're a little deep at central midfield anyway. Although he'd be a great replacement for Scott Brown.
Hell yeah.
And
he's got youth on his side, so he can fulfill that role for ways to come.
Until, Peter Lawwell shortchanges him and then, sells him on or whatever. But he does also have a beautiful, shiny, bald head, which both you and Scott Brown can both appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I'm a fan of the baby Bradley.
Yeah, baby Bob. And then next to him, you have Jermaine Jones, who's a red card waiting to happen. I mean, he makes Berham Kyle look disciplined. That's how fucking bad he is. So, yeah, I wasn't feeling all that great going into it. I was sort of pensive, cautiously optimistic, certainly not aggressive going into it. But now I just feel like Klinsmann either A, doesn't know what the hell he's talking about or doing, or B, doesn't really give a shit and is looking forward to the Gold Cup next year, Confederations Cup, and Russia.
I see what you're saying, when you said it earlier in the show about, looking towards Russia, especially with these younger guys. This is, most managers would take everything, in the now seriously. Maybe a little bit of looking ahead, but especially like the World Cup, you take that seriously. This is where you are. This is where you're right now, What?
I'm so sorry. I couldn't control myself.
No, but what you're saying, especially with him bringing in these really younger guys, this is to give them, this is their, one shot experience, first time bullshit, get it under their belt. So, yeah, in 4 years, when these guys are 23, 24, 25, then they already have it, they've got that experience, and then that's going to be, like, the time to shine kind of thing. Or maybe even he sees it like you do, going up against, a powerhouse in Germany, a powerhouse in Portugal, and Ghana, who's always had the U.S.'s number for whatever reason. Maybe he doesn't think anything's going to happen, so he's treating this like, kind of a throwaway, a league game against Morton.
I think so. I think that's. I think that he thinks that he's going to try and bring up the future and use the World Cup as sort of like a betting in for 2018, which is unfair to everybody. It's not. I mean, you don't do that. So first off, I just want to let you know I wasn't laughing at you when you were saying what you were saying. I mean, all spot on, fantastic points. But on my Twitter, BTW Celtics Show, I just retweeted it. Dara from shout out to Dara and Connor Fallon and the boys from Dublin. He just tweeted me a picture of Yogi Love. It's the picture of the guy from Kindergarten Cop. That's exactly what he looks very similar. It's just the hairstyle. Although Yogi would never wear a sport coat like that, but Yogi's a big fan of the V-neck sweaters. I'm
looking at it now. Yeah, now I remember.
Yeah, he sort of looks like the bad guy from. And I'll try and find a picture to sort of put up next to him. Just for comparison's sake. But, yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, I think that, it's a situation where it's just incredibly unfair to, the people that support the American team. So what? So we have to sort of like, sit through this cycle, this wave, and wait another 4 years?
Yeah, it's like, all right, see you in 2018, see you in Russia.
You what you do in the World Cup is you play your best team. That's it. I just don't think that I don't know. I think that his sort of MO and his belief system at this point is clouded by him marking out to himself instead of, just essentially doing what's best for the team, for the results.
And that takes a lot of balls on his end to assume he'll still be around in 4 years. I mean, yeah, he got the extension and everything, but you can get cut. You can get, canned at any time.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I hope that Sunil, has the balls to step in. I mean, if we go 3 and out and don't score any goals, and Jurgen thinks he's untouchable, that's some bullshit right there.
I mean, okay, Bradley had been in the position for 7-8 years himself, and we had one of our best showings in the World Cup in 2010, and then he got the axe, less than a month later.
And he was no Yogi Love. I don't know. It's all interesting. So this is what made up our past week. Mm-hmm. Nothing seems real. And nothing to get hung about. Strawberry fields forever. All right, Rev. It's time.
It was a trip. It was a long trip, fun trip.
It's time to draw the curtain.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, look, this was fantastic. It's not the end, as you said. It's only the beginning. Well, it's kind of ill-timed, maybe. I don't know. But every good thing has to end at some point. Need a little soundtrack to play us out after 3 years of nonsense. This is really pathetic. It's so pathetic, it's good, though. Roxette, they're Swedish, right? See, this is perfect. Larson's Swedish, they're Swedish. It would be cool if, if Dermot Desmond does have a change of heart, and we do wind up with Larson as the manager, but I just don't think that's happening.
Yeah, I whatever happens, obviously I wish the team the best. I wish whoever the manager is the best. I hope fans do show up. I hope we have atmosphere, in the stadium. I hope it doesn't turn plastic in the sense of that it's just very forced and the whole be Celtic because Celtic, that kind of stuff takes over. I hope that it's an organic, grassroots, true fan support. I don't mean like true fan as in the people that are like that aren't true fans, but I mean the people that they do show up, win, lose, or draw, when they can. If they
darn the hair do we care?
What's that?
Win, lose, or draw, darn the hair do we care?
Yeah. That's what it's about. That's a huge thing about, what it means to be a fan of this team. And, I just want, however it plays out, I just want the best for everyone involved. I want the fans to get, their experience that they deserve. And I just hope that it continues for a long time.
Oh, we have a caller. Hang on, it's not over yet. We have a caller. Darren.
Brian, how are you? How's things, man?
How are you, pal? Sorry I got your name wrong there, pal. I was filtering, I was flipping through 10 different things. I was looking at pictures of Yogi Love. I was looking at, pictures of Kindergarten Cop. How are you, pal?
I've been called worse, trust me.
Fantastic.
Sorry I'm late to the party. I didn't realise you actually had a show today, so I'm just ringing to call in and say hello and thank you for keeping me entertained. I know when we met in November there, just you keep me entertained, but firstly by listening and keeping it real, also just when I'm out jogging as well. So it's much appreciated. It's a great show. I love listening to all of you. So just to say thank you very much and for everything this year. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for calling in and letting us know. It's that's the reason why we do it. I know that I've been in the in the position where I'm looking for podcasts to listen to and anything I can get my hands on Celtic related, and to know that folks have listened and have appreciated it in a way that I would appreciate myself. That's why we've done it, and that's what we want to do with the show. We want to put something out there that is going to be quality, that people are going to like listening to and enjoy listening to. Because at the end of the day, if you're investing your time to listen into this, you deserve the best possible product. And to hear you say that you enjoy it, it really does. It means a lot. So I appreciate it. And we'll continue to be doing certain things here and there. Obviously we have the 10 in a row show coming up with myself and Paul Larkin, so that should be pretty good crack as well.
Really looking forward to that, because I was putting a request in for you to do it this year as well. So I'm delighted now when you tweeted it a few weeks ago to say that it was going ahead. So really, I thought it was brilliant last year. So really enjoyed it. So hopefully Paul goes a little bit easier on you this time. It was a bit hard than last time I thought Paul. He never gave up. He was arguing on Rogic and Rogner, and it was like a half an hour argument. He just wouldn't give up.
He doesn't, does he? He never does, no. And I don't think he ever will. But it's just
brilliant.
It's an endless entertainment, absolutely. Yeah. So looking forward to that. And thank you so much for your support and for listening and for calling in. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for everything. You're absolutely brilliant. I love listening to all the guys. You're absolutely brilliant. It's a great thing, and you don't take yourselves too seriously either. And I know there's a more serious side to it as well. Like there's a lot of people who, as yourself and Paul has said as well, that when you put your head above the pulpit, there's an awful lot of people who are quick to kind of shoot you down and take the piss, and you see an awful lot of stuff that come and it's just fucking nonsense. You know what I mean? And it's just keep the faith as well. There's a lot of people there that have a lot of love and a lot of respect. As myself and Conor and Mick and an awful lot of people as well. And it's just your work is very much appreciated in this part of the world too, so it's fantastic.
Thanks a million, pal. It means the world. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, the Yoki Low impression was brilliant though. Yoki Low. Off the average Michael McDonald impression a few months ago. Now that was it. It's up there with it.
Hey, we try and mix it up. You know, it's.
I never put him and the kindergarten cop villain together, but now it's in my head and that's it's there forever. So thank you. We can't get it out. So thank you.
Brilliant stuff.
Okay.
Well, thanks a million for everything, pal, and all the best. I'm looking forward to getting over and seeing you guys as soon as possible. I mean, obviously with the young one on the way, that might be a bit difficult for a while, but hopefully I can sneak away for a weekend here or there or something, and catch up because it's just absolutely brilliant time when I was over in Glasgow and and you guys keeping Paul Larkin. Keeping Paul Larkin in trouble. You typically say, keeping somebody out of trouble, but Paul Larkin needs to find some trouble every now and again. You know what I mean?
He slandered me in a blog yesterday, so I'm still...
he's only done that to you once this week, then?
Once it's not on my job, that was funny, but no, and actually, congratulations to you and your lovely wife too, Graham. It's great news. I'm absolutely delighted for you both, so hopefully she's doing well too, and sure, baby's due in November, is it, or October, November time, is it?
Yeah, it's November 11th is what we're shooting for, and it's a boy, so it's going to be Henrik Larsson Wilson. So we're delighted for wee Henrik to arrive, and but I was telling folks earlier, in the show, please be patient. It's going to be at least 18 years before he makes his debut for Celtic. So try not to heap all these expectations on him too soon. Let's really allow him to develop and mature, and when he's ready, he'll be over.
Exactly. What are you hoping for? Are you hoping for like a $20 season striker, a good strong centre half, box-to-box midfielder? What are you going for?
Left back with a sweet left foot and a gigantic ginger afro.
Nice. Very, very nice.
Absolutely. He's gonna be the captain of the first U.S. team to win the World Cup in 2038. So it's there's all sorts of aspects here that we need to prepare for, but it's a long way off. So I don't want to get too ahead of myself.
Will Clint want to be the coach then, or what? Are you no love for him, or
what's this?
Will Clint want to be the coach of the US side then, or you no love?
For fuck's sake, I hope not.
It'll be Landon Donovan.
Yeah, it'll be Landon Donovan. That's a great call. It very well may be. Very well may be. Who knows? But, So, Landon, if you're listening, remember the kind words that I said about you, all right?
Definitely. And he should be in the World Cup squad as well. I don't know. I assumed he was.
I think everybody did. I think everybody, there was some comments in recent weeks talking about, and he came out in the press, and some of the media types over here had mentioned, he's not a lock for the team, and, a lot of things are still up in the air. And you sort of thought to yourself, oh, that's just them talking about, him being humble, and, he needs to work really hard he needs to work a lot harder, and it's not a sure thing, but he'll be included. And then when he wasn't included, it was a shock, in spite of the fact that everybody had talked about the possibility of him not going, and all of these same media types had talked about and actually debated, the possibility of him not going. And then the same guys come out when he's not included, and they're like shocked, like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this!" It's like, well, 3 weeks ago you were talking about the very real possibility of him not going, and it happened. So I don't know. It's not a clever move in my perspective, even if you don't think that he's going to factor in that much with your plans. Having a player with that sort of experience and that sort of talent and the way that he thinks about the game, it's just so valuable just to even have on the plane or on the bus. When you're trying to bring a slew of young kids along, they're going to need to look up to somebody, and get counsel from somebody.
Exactly. So when you look at it, I know they're two different players, but they're both senior players. Like Pirlo with Italy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's what he brings to the team is sheer ability is outstanding, but also there's not a lot of young guys there that would be impressionable, and you see a guy like him there that to know how a professional acts, how to conduct yourself, what's right and what's wrong. That's priceless. That's more. That helps the next generation of players to come on. That you're not breeding a generation of assholes or a generation of prima donnas. That's priceless. I actually couldn't believe it. That he's a brilliant. There's talk that Everton wanted him back for a couple of months even during the summer, and he just said no. He was getting himself ready, and if someone at that caliber like of Roberto Martinez wants him back, who knows his stuff. just think it's shocking. I think it's a very, very odd decision. It's really, really silly, to be quite honest.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, the shame of it is that it comes down to personal issues, which, I think everybody's the poorer as a result of it, because he's got a personal axe to grind. But, at the end of the day, you're talking about the fortunes of a nation's World Cup outcome. It's, I don't know, it's a strange one. And it's combined on the same day with Neil Lennon stepping down. It was, I don't know. It sent my usual neurotic mindset into, an absolute fury.
Yeah, no. So I know you probably spoke of that before I joined. How are you feeling about that, or how are you?
With regard to the managerial situation at the moment?
Yeah. How are you?
Well, I think that, I'll start from Neil Lennon and his time with the club, and then I'll work my way up. I think that giving an assessment looking back of Neil Lennon's time at Celtic, it was, you can't help but say unequivocally that it was magic. It was just absolutely brilliant from start to finish. And there's going to be all sorts of criteria that are going to enter into the assessment of Neil Lennon, the judgment of Neil Lennon's time here. But there's context behind it on both sides. There's the context of, he didn't have Rangers, for a majority of the time. Granted, he beat Rangers the last year that they actually existed. There wasn't a Rangers for, the following 2 years since then. So that's going to be something that is going to be thrown into the mix when you're comparing him to, say, a Strachan or an O'Neill. O'Neill, and I made the point earlier, O'Neill was going up against Rangers probably at the top of their powers in terms of peak cheating and, bringing in, just stockpiling a wealth of talent on their side. And, we obviously know the effect and the impact that some dodgy refereeing can do for them as well. So when you're comparing Lennon to O'Neill, you have to take that into consideration. When you're comparing Lennon to Strachan, even. Strachan went up against the Rangers that were on the balls of their ass, but they were still there, and they were still a formidable opponent for the most part, and he got the job done, as it pertained to that. There wasn't a Rangers when Neil Lennon was the manager for these past 2 seasons anyway. But the other context that you need to inject into it is, the status of the team when he came upon it and found it, and the sort of resources that he was given to rebuild. Celtic was a team that was an utter shambles when he stepped in after Mowbray had gotten the sack. And it wasn't like he got this injection of 20 million quid, 30 million quid. He was working with a bare bones budget, and the entire spine of that team was ripped out. It was completely replaced, and replaced with quite a bit of quality, and quite a bit of quality where he reshaped the side to play a more pragmatic style as opposed to the Tony Mowbray, let's play with 5 strikers, have 45 shots on goal, and hopefully we win the game 6-4. I think that was well timed and needed at that point. We needed a bit of pragmatism. He calmed things down and evolved his playing style and his tactical acumen to the point where, seeing what he did in the Champions League, especially compared to what O'Neill did in the Champions League, and what O'Neill had to work with, not just from a financial standpoint, being able to buy players like Lennon and Sutton and Hartson, but also the fact that he had probably the greatest striker that Celtic has ever had, maybe, playing second fiddle perhaps to Jimmy McGrory. He had Henrik Larsson, Martin O'Neill did, when he came in. Neil Lennon had Marc-Antoine Fortuné. So, all of these things need to be factored into it. It's not as cut and dry as looking at, the statistics and comparing them head to head. But it's a bit complicated when it comes to that. But I can't see any other outcome other than to say that it was an extremely successful time, a time that I'll look fondly back on. I think that he's leaving for very obvious reasons. The fact that there's been meddling from Peter Lawwell and the board since he started. And in the beginning, I guess you could sort of understand that, considering it was a rookie manager. It was a big chair for him to step right into. But as the years came on, and as his success grew, you would have assumed and expected that he would have more and more say in terms of who was being sold, who was being bought. You would hope, after the campaign in the Champions League in 2012-2013, that he would have an equal footing, an equal seat at the table in making these sorts of decisions. And what's clear at this point, from the revelations that have come from Georgios Samaras, from the situation with Joe Ledley in the January transfer window, that isn't the case, that he's still being treated as if he's a rookie manager. He does have input, it seems, but he doesn't have an equal say, an equal seat at the table, if you will, while the expectations and the requirements in terms of the results that he's accountable for, they keep increasing. So you're giving him less to work with. You're expecting more from him. At some point, we're going to reach a breaking point. And that's where I think we are at this moment with Neil Lennon resigning. And I would expect he'd be looking for opportunities elsewhere. And I would expect that he's going to get them. I think that he's really rounded into a very good manager. And we've talked about this on the show today. I don't necessarily agree with everything that he's done, but you can't argue with many of the results. And you can't argue with the trajectory that he's gone on. So I wish him well. I mean, he was one of my favorite players when he played. I look back fondly on his time as manager. Now, in terms of where we are just now, the reputation of this board has, at this point, really caught up with it. And I've made the comment on Twitter and elsewhere that the board lucked into Neil Lennon coming in and being so effective and so dynamic so quickly. They really did. I mean, Neil Lennon saved Peter Lawwell's ass. Peter Lawwell, keep in mind, remember, Peter Lawwell was the one that signed Tony Mowbray. That was a Peter Lawwell decision. That was his choice. That was the only time that Peter Lawwell made a managerial decision. Every other time it's been Dermot Desmond. But there was a lot of heat coming on Peter Lawwell at that point for the Stephen Fletcher situation, that decision that came down, the sort of biscuit tin mentality that was creeping back into the club and saw us just absolutely getting throttled by Rangers, at that point. And Neil Lennon came in, was able to stabilize things, was able to get the energy back into the club, was able to get us back on a winning tread, and was able to do it without a huge injection of cash that would otherwise, in my opinion, be necessary to get the same sort of results. So Peter Lawwell has a lot to thank Neil Lennon for. Now we're in the same exact situation as when Tony Mowbray left. Obviously, in a much better footing, in terms of the players that we have, in terms of the momentum that we're carrying, and the confidence that our players and staff are carrying. But we still have that biscuit tin reputation, where managers that are in the Neil Lennon profile from 2010 are in very, very short supply. Managers that have the acumen to step in and be very successful very quickly, but also won't have huge demands in terms of players coming in, transfer budgets, wages. Managers that won't want to have a huge amount of say in the decision-making process. Where are you going to find that? So what we're limited to, and the thing that's concerning to me is we're limited to managers who maybe are sort of on the rebound, maybe had a bad run someplace, but want to sort of resurrect their career with a big name club that has aspirations and potential for Champions League football. So that's where you get the David Moyes and the Owen Coyles of the world. Or it's a situation where we have to go with someone who is a bit more unproven, but has ties to the club, perhaps has some upside, but isn't going to be as demanding for the transfer budgets, etc. And that maybe is somewhere where Jackie McNamara would fit in, who I have a lot of time for. You also have Malky Mackay, who's a name that's being thrown in there, but I don't see a Malky or a Roy Keane, who I've heard his name being bandied about just now, even with the bookies. I just don't see them going into the boardroom at Celtic and being dictated to by Peter Lawwell, i.e., here's Amito Balde, and I don't care if it doesn't fit into your system, you're going to play him because that's your striker now. I just don't see that ending well. And I've been told in several places that the decision's already been made in its own coil. So,
makes you very worried to hear that, to be quite honest, because I've heard those names too, and that's a great point you talked about what what Lenny's had to deal with as well. He's had to, and selling his best player every year on year, and being told that, like from Wanyama to Hooper to going back to Levy. And I think it's going to be something that we're all smart enough to realise that there's a lot more going on. It could come out in 6 months' time, it could come out in a year, it could come out whenever. And I think Lenny's shown great for it. I don't know. Someone said that he possibly got one up on Lowell by actually announcing that he was going, that he wanted all this, that there was so much reactionary things going on and statements and this and that, and it's very hard. Like you hear all these, there's an awful lot of names. Like there was a great Homeboy show as well the other night talking about, and it was over 2.5 hours of people, and some of the debates got very, very heated about kind of a certain. Well, it was with respect to Cork, they were very valid points. And a lot of people were kind of saying that Larson was obviously he's to distance himself from it now. When you look at Matthew Mackay and Jackie McNamara, I wouldn't be disappointed with either of those. But at the same time, would they, like Mackay walked away from that at Cardiff? He walked away. I don't know. I wouldn't compare Vincent Tan to Peter Law, and the world apart. Tan is complete egomaniac. He just seems to be completely off the wall, that guy. But it's just. You wonder, would he say, okay, I put up with this bullshit before? Like that was only settled about a month ago, his payoff in Cardiff, and his solicitor gave a lovely statement saying, oh, I'm really sorry, and all this kind of nonsense, Dan. But that's only been settled quite recently. But then you look at that, I think he'll do very, very well. I think Jackie McNamara will be brilliant, but I'd be very worried about Roy Keane or Owen Coyle. As I said, the obvious is that he had a chance to go to us and he didn't.
Yep.
And his stock is completely low, and I think he's done a lot of work on Irish television recently, as Lenny has too recently. Actually, he's done a lot of work on TV3, and he seems like a bit of a PR man, nearly, trying to say the right thing. And that's why I'd be very impressed. I was very impressed with him when he was born, and then he went to. He obviously when he made a mess of things at both. Maybe that wasn't all his fault. I read last night they're close to 70 million in debt, that club still. They're massive amount of debt where they are. And then he went to Wigan and just like he was gone there quite quickly. So and they actually did very, very well with Ross Strass. So you see things like that and you worry, and your points at the start were brilliant as well, Graham, about what he would do or what no man, like any his strength or his power, which you think with a manager it would go up and he'd get more power to make decisions, but then you look at it and you kind of go, no, he's actually not he's being told what to do. But then you don't know what managers out there would have that power too. There's obviously an element of balance in the books, but then you're right too, there's the biscuit timber mentality as well with his players there. Players, I'm worried about players like Snodgrass, who seem to be a done deal. Like what's going to happen there now? Like Lenny would have had that done. And then I thought Aidan McGeady was interviewed a couple of days ago as well, and he made a telling point. He said Lennon, he wasn't the most. He said he wasn't the most easy character, but when they were playing together, he wasn't the easiest person to get along with at times. And then he said when he was a manager, he was great with him, but we all kind of know that there was a definite personality clash between the two of them, and so just interesting. Like there's an awful lot of names being bandied about, an awful lot, and some make me shudder. Even the Roy Keane one as well, and he was almost playing to me yesterday. He was saying, "Well, I have a job," and Martin O'Neill's coming out today saying, "Well, look, I won't stand in his way," and I personally wouldn't like to see him at Celtic Park at all. I really wouldn't. I don't think he would be good. I really don't think he'd be a good choice for it. So,
no, I agree.
Yeah. But there's a lot there. Like there's a lot of, I know Oscar Garcia was mentioned today from Brighton as well. So it's just it's hard to know, and I think that's what's caught him off guard. One thing we have to get it quickly, and because the Champions League qualifiers are coming up very, very quickly, and there's players there. I'd say to put a lot of players, from looking at the tweets of some of the players, they were definitely in shock. Obviously, Big Fraser, Sweden's a couple more as well. So we've definitely caught a lot of players by surprise. So, it's sad. But I think he will go on. I hope he does go on to bigger. I hope he does. I think he'll do very, very well. And wherever he decides to go, the obvious thing will be England, and just to see what comes up, whether he'll jump now or he'll wait for something with that merry-go-round the way things happen. If someone gets sacked, he might jump in there. But it's interesting. But I think he did brilliant. The height of it, mightn't have agreed 100% with everything he did all the time, which goes for anything like the height of the spectrum and the height of, as a man, I was lucky enough to meet him once too, and just he was absolutely brilliant. He was lovely, and just you could see him kind of there with people and how what it meant to him, what it meant when people said things to him, and it was nice. I just wish him the very, very best of luck and just say thank you to him.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I would definitely echo that as well. It's interesting when you talk about a person, and I mean, it's not like Neil Lennon's just moving on. It's not like he's passed on or anything else like that. I mean, obviously he's not going to be associated with Celtic anymore. He's not going to be the manager, and it's hard to even fathom, considering how long he's been with the club. But you hear so much of people talking about, when they met him, or they had a chance to, they bumped into him on the street, or they had a chance to meet him. And I have my own story. I mean, it was when Philadelphia hosted Celtic playing against Real Madrid in a preseason friendly. It was day after my birthday, I believe, 2012, and we had this brilliant idea. I think we had been doing the show for about a year or so, but we had this brilliant idea that, we found out the hotel that the team were staying at. So we were just going to go and stalk them. Like, we're just going to go and stand in the lobby and they had to leave some point, So, and we knew that they were doing a press conference there. So we just went there, we just stand in the lobby and whatever. And, we found out the room that the press conference was going to be going into. And there was like nobody manning the door. Like, anybody could just walk in there. So we did. We just walked into the press conference, sat down. I'm like, fuck it, I'm part of the media, And so it was brilliant seeing, Lenny, and I believe it was Rania and Mulgrew, that were up on the panel as well. And they were talking about some shite that they were talking about doing in Philadelphia that never panned out, and everybody knew it wouldn't. But afterward, Lenny goes over to the side, and of course he's mobbed by Celtic fans, who had the same idea that we did, just sort of crashed the press conference. And he just stood there for like 90 minutes, just standing there, shaking people's hands, talking, getting pictures taken with them. My wife and I walk up. We're sort of in line, and I didn't even want my picture or anything. I just wanted to say hello, but, we were lucky enough to get our picture with them. And so I walk up and I'm like, hey, Neil, thank you so much for coming over. It's just absolutely brilliant to see you. And my wife's there. I turn around, I'm like, honey, this is Neil Lennon. I'm like making this whole big thing. And then, so he just sort of shrugs, he just shakes her hand and he goes, hi, I'm Neil. And then he just sort of looks at me and just does one of these, like, shakes his head like, geez, just put your trousers back on. I mean, just in a lighthearted way. I mean, it was a brilliant moment, for that. And, and that's, you just get a sense for the type of guy that he is, from that. It seemed as though on the whole, he was a very good man manager. You hear about his players speaking, extremely high of him. And, I mean, he got the best out of some players that any other manager would never. I mean, think about Charlie Mulgrew. I mean, what other manager on the face of the planet would be able to get what he got out of Charlie Mulgrew? A player like that. Or even Chris Commons, for that matter. Chris Commons came from Derby County for $300,000, and now he's the leading scorer. He scores over 30 goals in Scotland. Think about how remarkable that is. And I'm not sure that another manager would have seen that in Chris Commons or been able to get that out of him.
Exactly, and even with Calvin Wilson and a million other players like that.
Absolutely.
And you're right, even your voice. Sorry for using bad language, but he inherited a team of shite under Mowbray.
Yep.
He really did. And I remember talking to the guys at the time when he took over from that with Mowbray, because I remember when it was never ending as to when he was going to be sacked. It seemed to go on forever.
Yeah, it did.
And eventually, the decision. I think they're waiting for him to go as opposed to paying him a severance. I think that was the Biscuit Tim mentality working again. But like the money he spent on Fortuna and Aldi, and he had to rejig the whole team, and not just even in terms of personnel, in terms of, I'd say, morale. I'd say they were just jaded. There was nothing. There's so many times you look at that team where you just need you need a Martin O'Neill or someone that just to go up and grab them to just physically and just to shout at the sideline and just sit there. And instead there was times when Mowbray was just turning his head or something and nodding, and you're sitting there going, no, mate, that's not what you do.
Right.
And I know it was when Mowbray was taken on, there was an awful lot of goodwill. I still would be with any. We'd never be negative towards anyone, but I think Lenny, there's a lot of people talking about an inexperienced quote unquote manager taking over. Like Lenny hardly was experienced at all when he took over, and he was brilliant, and he took it. He took the team he brought some amazing players in. You're right, for nothing, like taking in Wanyama for peanuts, what he got himself, what he sold him for, watching Hooper, guys like Commons. Commons has been reborn, and not just even in terms of the player, but as to what he does for the club. Like, I've no doubt he will be at Celtic for years and years and years to come. I think he said he wants to be a coach, and he just seems so happy there, and his wife just seems lovely, and just all those sort of things. That kind of builds such trust, and like with Forster as well, all these players that he scouted and that he knew, and and it wasn't without, I suppose, with me personally, the last 2 days, I was getting on a bus into town yesterday and was wearing a Celtic top, and I have had a guy stop me and say, look, Jesus, what's happening there, and what everybody seems to have an opinion on it. And I was talking to a guy today who didn't really know Celtic, and he was kind of saying, look, what happened? I said, well, I was explaining about the death threats he's got to his family, and even when he was playing for Northern Ireland, and they said they sent the bullet to his parents. He said this guy, he couldn't get his head around. He was like, how and why, and just couldn't understand. He said, well, that's just what they do. And so he was assaulted by two just for he's walking down the street minding his own business, and he couldn't fathom it. He said he just, and this is a guy who was non-Celtic, knew of Celtic as such, but didn't know the whole story behind it. And now there's probably a million things going on in his personal life as well that have gone on, and then obviously other things which we probably don't know about, like Lyle could have went there and said, right, you have to sell Forster, and you have to sell, you might have to sell Van Dijk as well.
Yeah.
If someone comes in with that over 10 million for either, then they're gone. Someone comes with 10 million for both.
Right.
Good luck to them. No, that's like, how do you deal with that when you're building for the Champions League? And we'll probably have 3 bloody tough qualifiers. Like, we were lucky last time. We were very, very lucky against Shakhtar. I remember I was actually in Seville on holidays watching that and going, being really, really elated that we got through. But then at the same time, you rein yourself back in and you kind of go, well, we were lucky.
By the skin of our teeth. By the skin of our teeth against a team from Kazakhstan.
Exactly. It's not like we're playing Real Madrid or anything like that. Or like, I mean, we could have got a tough Spanish team or a tough bloody Eastern European team. I mean, we didn't. They were just they were bad. And that first leg was just awful.
But how and that leads us to where we are right now, where there's this unease and insecurity as like, how long is our luck going to last? When is our luck going to run out? And that, I don't just mean with the Champions League qualifiers. I mean in general. I mean, Neil Lennon was the exact perfect man for the exact perfect job at the exact perfect time. He was the man for us at that particular time, and he did a heroic job after that. Who's our perfect man for this particular time? And some of the names that are being bandied about, quite frankly, are terrifying.
That's terrible. I'd rather have Jack Bauer in there, and at least he could do a job.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God, Yoki, look. No, some of them are just, and it's frightening. And there's an element of, I suppose, I joined the Facebook group the other day on Celtic, and actually a couple of weeks ago, but there's the guy who posted something brilliant. He said that, with all this talk about Larson coming back, who's he going to get rid of? Is he going to get rid of Stokes or Griffiths? And I thought it was brilliant. It just made more sense than anything. And there's all these names coming in, all these names that are being bandied about, and it's some of them are frightening. You wonder, half of them are probably coming from the PR guys. Well, they're kind of saying, okay, let's put this name out and see what kind of reaction we get.
Yeah. And
it kind of just makes, but the Owen Coyle one frightens. It actually terrifies me, that, because I don't think he's not the man at all to lead us forward. He's not the man to bring us to that next level, not by any means. I'm not saying we can all sit here and say and act like experts. We're doing it out of love for the club and out of respect for it, and it's just
exactly right.
It's hard, and you don't know who's lined up. You don't know what's. I know people are saying Larson, and then I'll bring him in as an assistant, and he's not going to be a
no, it's never going to happen.
Yeah, he'd be honest enough. He's not going to leave a job. I know their season ends in November. He's not going to leave them. He's too honest, might be, but he's too righteous. He wouldn't just leave a club in that position, no matter what. I think he's very straight down the line. He's very honest, and they brought out a whole load of old interviews with him where he talked about Lincoln.
I mean, we've all heard the stories of Larson turning down, a humongous payday to film an advert because, he agreed to spend the day with his son the next day, and that was a conflict. I mean, that's the type of person that Henrik Larsson is. And I mean, he doesn't suffer fools lightly, and he's not going to just make sort of a flippant decision like that, no matter who it is and no matter what the terms are. You're right. I mean, he is a very righteous person. And with that, I mean, I think we should take him at his word. Another thing that I've been told, and I haven't been able to verify, but it is something to be aware of, is that there's some uncertainties in terms of whether or not he has his coaching badges to allow him to manage outside of Sweden just yet. So I'm not even so sure that it would even be possible. He very well might, and it's the type of thing where he could probably get his badges on an expedited basis. But there's a lot more to it going in other than let's just pay him a boatload of money and promise him all sorts of transfers or whatever to entice him in. But in terms of selling season books, keeping the energy of the club going, I think it'd be a no-brainer. But I'd also fear for his legacy, and I'd fear for perhaps him taking the job, not getting the support that he'd need, and then, God forbid, the supports don't go his way. Granted, he's almost, he is a god amongst Celtic supporters, and I just don't want to see that tarnished at all. But it's sort of selfish reasons with that. It's an incredibly complicated scenario, but the good news is, starting next week, Paul Larkin and myself are here to make sense of it or to make complete and absolute bollocks of it.
Makes sense, but definitely.
So that's the silver lining in all this.
Yeah, brilliant. That's a great silver lining. No, definitely. I think we could talk about this till the cows come home, and I think that there's a hell of a lot more to it. When you look at a club, even today, I was kind of watching the background club at QPR, like how they survived on an 85 million sterling well. Just, I don't think you look at stuff like that and you see what we have to put up with. It's not, and you look at a manager who come in and have to do that and probably be told this. So I think it's going to be hard for any manager because they're obviously going to say, right, here's a war chest, here's money, here's to do this. And who come in and say, well, okay, such and such a bid comes in for this guy, you've got to get rid of this, you've got to get rid of this, we can't get this in. And obviously Lenny must have had transfers that we knew about Snodgrass, which just seemed to be got on a lot of steam. And then maybe there's a couple of other players there, but then you don't know how long he'd been thinking about it. It could have been months, and from what the interview with him in the airport, as he was leaving, it seemed to be it was on his mind and he was thinking about it. And probably the Mialbe thing should have been the warning to all of us that something was up,
Yeah. It'll be an interesting next several weeks. So we'll see what transpires, but at least we can look back fondly and fingers crossed anyway that whoever the next man that comes in, they're going to be up to the task. That's all we can do.
Exactly.
Right there. Well, cheers, pal. Thanks so much for calling in.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for listening. But thank you for everything that you've been. It's great to listen in and great to talk to like-minded people and just to talk about our love of Celtic. So thank you, Grant. Thanks a minute.
It's been a blast. Thank you, pal.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Oh, Rev. Hang on. Where's my rock set?
Let me throw one last question out that I just thought of now. What would you, and I guess for everybody, what would people think of, say, for example, putting up with Owen Coyle for one season if that means next year we were to get Henrik Larsson?
No.
Because
first off, we're getting back into the whole Jurgen Klinsmann dilemma. Like, are we mortgaging, we're selling the cow to pay for the pasture, or whatever the hell that analogy is.
Mm-hmm.
I came to say goodbye.
Are we mortgaging the future for now, or, mortgaging now for the future, or whatever, when it's not even a sure thing? I'm not so sure Henrik Larsson is the best person. I think he'd be the best person to sell season books. I'm not so sure he'd be the most effective manager. I'm just not. I don't have enough confidence in his CV. And I don't want to I don't have to quote unquote put up with anybody. I want the right man. We're talking about winning 10 in a row and then 25 in a row.
I'm going away.
Mm-hmm.
This is a time that, there's only one solution here. There's only one thing that could possibly illustrate. We need Cyndi Lauper.
But for how long?
I don't know. Cindy's got Captain Lou Albano as the assistant manager. I don't know. Listen, it's going to be Owen Coyle. Bottom line.
That's how it happens, instance followed by instance.
I don't know the words of this song. Is that a lyric?
It might be. I don't know. I'm just taking a guess.
All right, I'm going to jack it up. Oh, this is the boring part. Yeah, here we go. Here's the good part. Captain Lou comes in, I think. Or maybe that's the other song.
The second hand unwind. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me.
Cindy's a ginger.
Is she real, though?
I don't know. Tim or Han, Cyndi Lauper.
Tim.
I agree.
Just wants to have fun.
That's true. Birds just want to have fun. This is the most depressing show we've ever done. To be honest, it's a depressing time, man.
It is. It's bittersweet. I mean, we're leaving at I don't want to say tumultuous time, but there's a bit of trepidation and uncertainty.
What the hell happened to, this is just the beginning and all that shit?
No, I'm talking about the time of the, the state of the club, There's a little uncertain looking forward towards the future of how things are going to play out in the summer with them. And, the fact that it's coinciding with us changing, evolving to the next level with this. It's just, I'm happy for the past and I wouldn't change it for anything. And, I'm looking forward to the future, but it's going to be different and change is scary. But I'm hoping for the best, and I'm not afraid of it. But it's
Yeah, I think you're right. It is scary. It's scary to shut the hell up. It's scary to the uncertainty, and especially when you have a dipshit like Peter Lowell is pulling the strings. Oh, well. It'll all get figured out, Rev.
It will.
Eventually. The power of this club and its supporters is the inertia and the momentum that this support can generate is something that cannot be denied. And there may be a step back. There may be a blip. There may not be. I don't know. My lack of confidence is not a sure thing that it's all doom and gloom. It's just my opinion. But we are so far past the worst time in this club's history. We are so far above that. And we almost went into liquidation. And our club support ignited the change to avoid that. We're not even close to going into liquidation.
Right.
So if we hire Owen Coyle and we have a shitty season and he doesn't work out, our support will get together and unite. And all of
that I have no doubt.
The panty wetters and the soup takers and the pyromaniacs are all going to unite. And we will ignite the change if and when it needs to happen. Because we are Celtic supporters.
Faithful through and through.
And that's what we do. There isn't another support on the face of the planet that has the power that we do. That's the bottom line.
Because Stone Cold said so?
Bitch. Yeah. And you know what? Maybe Dermot's listening and he says, oh shit, we got to find somebody else. And he gets somebody brilliant over the next week. And then people will listen back to this and be like, that Graham's a mug. Thank God he's done spouting his pish. Birthday card pish. So, Rev, thank you for everything. And,
thank you.
We'll figure out what the next move is. But in the meantime, that's that. This is this. There's there. And all that pish. So, for Darren from Dublin calling in, the Doc, for Yompy, for you, Rev, and for everybody listening, thank you so much for everything over the past 3 years, and it's been wonderful, and we'll hope to have something in the future from time to time, or some evolution of this going forward. But all the support really means a lot. I know, I speak for all of us that have been involved. The coach, Seamus, everybody that has had a part in all this. We really appreciate it, and we even love the haters, even a little bit. But taking us out, as always, is Shane McGowan and the Pogues. Rev, thank you again.
Thank you. Hail to everybody. Thanks for everything, and we'll catch you on the other side.
Fantastic. Taking us out, as always, Shane McGowan and the Pogues. Hail, hail, and keep the faith.
The island, it is silent now, but the ghosts still haunt the waves. And a torch lights up a famished man who fortune could not save. Did you work upon the railroads? Did you ride the streets of crime? Were your dollars from the White House? Were they from the 5 and dime? Did the old songs start to cheer you? And did they still make you cry? Did you count the months and years? Or did your teardrops quickly dry? I know 15th was not to be on a copping ship. I came here and I never even got so far that they could change my name. Thousands are sailing across the western ocean to a land of opportunity that some of them will never see. Fortune prevailing across the western ocean, their bellies full, their spirits free. They'll break the chains of poverty and they'll dance. In Manhattan's desert twilight, in the dead of afternoon, we stepped hand in hand on Broadway, like the first man on the moon. And a blackbird broke the silence as you whistled, it's so sweet. And in Brendan Behan's footsteps, I danced up and down the street. And we said goodnight to Broadway, giving it our best regards. Tipped our hats to Mr. Cohen, dear old Times Square's favorite bird. Then we raised a glass to JFK and a dozen more.